The Coronation Street actor Michael Le Vell is expected to hold talks with ITV, perhaps as early as today, about returning to the soap after he was cleared of sex offence charges.
His much publicised trial has reignited the debate about whether people accused of abuse should have the right to remain anonymous. We're joined by Liz Dux from Slater and Gordorn, who represents many of the Jimmy Saville victims. Also here is Timur Rustem, a lawyer specialising in defending people accused of sex offences. It has reignited, as we've said, that debate over anonymity. The law says that alleged victims have a lifetime anonymity, regardless of whether the allegations are proved. The accused of sex crimes don't have the same protections. Is that right, Liz?
Well, I realise that this is a very difficult balancing act, but we have to position the interests of victims. We know from Saville, we know from Stuart Hall that people have only found confidence in coming forward because they know that they weren't alone. And in lots of cases, we know from the police that they've only been able to make appeal for witnesses where they've been able to release the name of the suspect. But I do appreciate that it's a balancing act, and I do appreciate that people may say it's not fair for the suspect to be named.
Because there is a stigma around sex cases that some would say never actually goes away.
There certainly is. I mean, we have the criminal courts, as has been shown yesterday, where the evidential test is a very high one, and if a case cannot be proved beyond all reasonable doubt, then a jury must acquit. And I'm afraid we have to have the criminal law as that protection for those who have been charged with offences.
Why should, in your view, should defendants get the right to anonymity?
I think when we talk about victims, whilst of course there should be every protection given to a victim of an offence, a lot of the time the defendants are themselves victims. They are people who face a charge which can devastate their career, devastate their lives, reputation. Very often these people can be married, of good character, never been in trouble before in their lives. An accusation of this nature does carry a stigma.
But those consequences can apply for someone accused of theft or murder or drunk driving, and we accept that they should be named. I mean, why should a potential sex criminal be different?
Well, not to the same extent. I think sex cases in particular carry a certain stigma which is very different to other criminal offences. Bear in mind, we had this protection in place for anonymity for both victims and also defendants for some time, until it was removed.
Well, 12 years between 76 and 88,
Yeah.
but it was removed because the government didn't think it worked.
I think we have to distinguish between type of case it is. On a landmark case like the Saville case, where there's been multiple allegations, of course, it may be in the public interest to have that publicised so other victims can come forward. But that has to be balanced, I think, against the interests of the individual who, bear in mind, is not guilty of anything until they've been found guilty in a court. That is so you're almost prejudging the issue by publicising it.
And there is a climate, isn't there, Liz, that in some cases people are being considered, perhaps in the media, but considered guilty until they're proved innocent.
Yes, and that's wrong. We mustn't have trial by media, and I'm very much against that. And that is why we have the checks and balances in the criminal courts, and it's wrong for too much evidence to be released in the media before those trials have taken place. But what I would say is, you know, for example, in Stuart Hall, where victims were all over the country, we know from what they've said that they wouldn't have come forward if they thought they were alone. And, you know, we run the risk that potential offenders will go unprosecuted if they're not named.
Do you think there's a bit of a feeding frenzy going on against celebrities following Saville?
I think not just against celebrities. I think the current climate since Saville has been, I think we've seen a lot of cases charged where perhaps there hasn't been a proper evidential test applied by the police or the prosecution services. And it doesn't surprise me really to see the acquittal in the case of Michael Le Vell. I think there has to be much more stringent look at the case itself.
Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. I mean, you know, for example, as I said, Hall has pleaded guilty. He would not have pleaded guilty without a weight of evidence against him. And these were from people all over the country who didn't know what the others were saying. The same evidential test has to be applied by the CPS for anyone, whether they are known or not known.
OK, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much.